Before the 2017 version of Ghost in the Shell comes out, let's talk about the animated version that's based upon. Hey, what's up you guys? FilmFan0599 here again, and today we're going to review Ghost in the Shell. So, what Ghost in the Shell is basically about, it's about when we're in the year 2029, and these two police officers, a female and a male, and the female is actually a robot, they need to stop this super hacker named the Puppet Master. And that's what really the basic premise of Ghost in the Shell is. So, what did I think of this movie? Now, I went to it with a little bit of high expectations because I've heard so many people say that this is like one of the best animes, one of the best animated films like of all time. So, obviously I went into it with a lot of high expectations. I hope it could have been something at least really good. Unfortunately, I didn't get that. I seem like I'm going to be in the really big minority with this, but I really thought Ghost in the Shell was a pretty lifeless movie. This one, like, I just felt like it was a lifeless animated movie. I really did feel like that. I felt like it just had nothing to it, if you know what I mean. Like, it's not a bad movie per se, but I felt like it just had nothing to it, really. It's okay. It's an alright animated film, so yeah. So let's get into my positives, because I did like some things with this movie, and my positives are, first being the voice acting is not too bad, actually. I thought the voice acting was pretty solid. It isn't great, but it is pretty solid. I thought the people that played the characters did a fairly good job. I did enjoy them. They did a pretty solid job. It isn't great or anything, but they do a solid job. So yeah, I do think the voice acting is pretty solid. Isn't great, but it's pretty solid. By far the best thing about this movie is indeed the animation. The animation is very beautiful, it's very great, definitely. I will say, in terms of the animation, the movie is not lifeless. What I mean by lifeless, I'll get into in a moment. But with the animation, it did look pretty beautiful, and I did like the animation with this film, and it definitely did have a great scope of what the future could look like. So, yeah, I really like that. I love the animation with the film. Definitely looked very beautiful in my eyes. So yeah, the animation was great. The action scenes were really cool too. Like, I did like some of the really cool action scenes in the movie. So yeah, the action scenes were pretty cool as well. Some of the writing was pretty solid. I will say that some of the writing was pretty solid with the movie. I will indeed say that some of the writing was pretty solid. The directing wasn't too bad either. So yeah, the directing wasn't too bad with the movie. And there were some interesting moments, really, here and there. Yeah, there were some moments where I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting, just here and there. So let's get into my negatives with the movie, because I do have some really big problems with this movie. And probably my biggest problem is that the characters are so uninteresting. What I meant by that this is such a lifeless movie is that the characters and, like, I'll say this, the characters in the story are very disinteresting. It really is. It's not interesting whatsoever. Like, for the most part, it really isn't that interesting. Like, I was like, okay, you can get some better characters for these stories. Like, the storyline with this whole thing with the Puppet Master, it just didn't interest me. It really didn't, to be completely honest. Like, I was so bored watching this movie. Like, it just wasn't interesting to me. I was not compelled with this story or these characters. Like, these characters are some of the most lifeless characters I've ever seen in an animated film. I'm dead serious. I get the main character's a robot, but that's not an excuse. I felt like the characters were very lifeless. Like, the voice acting for them wasn't too bad. Like I said, it was pretty solid, but just the characters themselves are not really that good. I don't really think the characters are really that great. They aren't terrible characters, they're just very lifeless and very uninteresting. And like I said, with the storyline as well, I felt like the storyline really wasn't that interesting either, with this whole thing with the Puppet Master and whatever. It just wasn't great. It really wasn't. I wasn't interested. I was like, this could have been way better than it was. Like, I could see potential in this. and they just go in such a boring and uninteresting direction with it that I'm just like, how do you mess this up? Like, how do you mess this storyline up? Like, it was so uninteresting to me and so boring and lifeless. Um, there were some times, even though the animation was beautiful, there were some times where I didn't feel like the animation was that great. Like, there were some points where I did feel like the animation was a little bit off to me. At some points, like, it wasn't bad or anything, but there were some points during the movie where I did think the animation kind of looked a bit strange. It's more or less when it comes to, like, the blood and stuff, I just felt like it looked a bit strange and stuff. Like, at times the animation just really didn't look that great to me. Just at sometimes at points in the movie. Um, the villain, like I said, not really that compelling, really. Like, I didn't really find him to be that compelling of a villain. Like I said, these characters aren't interesting. So, yeah, this villain wasn't compelling whatsoever to me. Definitely they could have done such a better job with the villain to me. It just was such an uninteresting and uncompelling villain to me that I didn't really think they did a good job with that. And there are some times where some of the writing could be a little bit sloppy to me at points. Like, some of these characters' dialogue is not that great at times to me, and then the movie is just really boring. Like, I will admit, this movie is really slow for the most part. It's really slow. Like, the movie's only an hour and 25 minutes. I felt like I was watching a 3-hour movie. Like, it's not interesting, this movie, to me. I mean, apparently The Matrix was heavily inspired by this, like, The Matrix was really inspired by this movie. Honestly, that's a way better version. If you want to see a way better version of this movie, just watch The Matrix. Like, seriously. It's just, this movie is just a very uninteresting and dull animated film, and I really did not enjoy it. So it's time for my official grade on Ghost in the Shell, and my official grade on Ghost in the Shell is C+. Like I said, overall, it's not that great of an animated film to me. I really don't see why people consider it one of the greatest animated films of all time. It's just such an uninteresting movie. That's the biggest problem with this movie, is that it's so uninteresting, with very uninteresting characters and very uninteresting storylines. It's just really not that great. It's not a terrible movie by any means, but it's really not that good either, and it could have been way better than it was. So yeah, it gets a C+. Very mediocre in my eyes. So, what did you think of Ghost in the Shell if you've seen it? Leave in the comment section below. And I'm FilmFan0599, and we'll see you all later. Peace.